Shinzo Abe was the longest-serving Prime Minister of Japan, having served his country for a total of 9 years over the period of 2 decades. He was a well-known and relatively well-liked public servant, not only within Japan, but also on the international stage. Having left the position of Prime Minister behind in September of 2020, Mr. Abe still remained within the spheres of Japanese politics, even going on to serve as a member in the House of Representatives, a position he held at the time of his assassination. On the 8th of July 2022, while speaking at a political event outside of Yamato Sadaichi Station in Nara City, Mr. Abe was approached from behind by a gunman who opened fire on the public servant using a homemade firearm. Having been shot at from close range by what resembled an amateur shotgun, Shinzo Abe was promptly transported via helicopter to the Nara Medical University Hospital, where he was pronounced dead shortly after arrival. Needless to say, the assassination of Shinzo Abe shook the Japanese population to the core. Many questions arose around how such a barbaric act of violence could occur against anyone in a country with some of the strictest gun laws on the planet, let alone to a high-profile politician such as Mr. Abe himself. Japan had not seen a political assassination since 1936, almost 90 years ago. Naturally, theories began to spread on the motive behind the killing. Many suspected that this was a deliberate attempt to remove Mr. Abe from Japanese politics, as the assassination had taken place just 2 days before the upper house elections. Shinzo Abe was well known for his hardline views on Japanese national security. Mr. Abe wished to establish an expansive and professional military for Japan, a policy that directly violated Japan's agreements with the West on national demilitarization at the end of World War II. If Abe's vision had gone through, Japan would have become a major strategic threat to China. This positioned the Chinese Communist regime as a likely culprit behind the assassination. However, the police investigation into Shinzo Abe's murder would find that the true motive behind the gunman's actions were much stranger than anyone could have thought. The suspect, 41-year-old Tetsuya Yamagami, was arrested at the scene for attempted murder. Yamagami would reveal to the investigators early on that his intentions were to kill Shinzo Abe due to the former Prime Minister's affiliation with a religious group known as the Unification Church. You see, the Unification Church is a somewhat controversial religious multinational organization that was founded in Seoul, South Korea in the 1950s. The church has been widely criticized for encouraging its followers to make exorbitant donations to it as a part of their moral obligations as practitioners of the religion. Yamagami's mother joined the Unification Church after the death of his father in the 1990s, and since then, she has donated an excessive amount of the family fortune to the group. In Tetsuya's own words, "After my mother joined the church in the 1990s, my entire teenage years were gone, with some 100 million yen wasted." The Yamagamis were a rich household, having formed a relatively profitable family company early on. However, with the mother's exorbitant donations to the Unification Church, the Yamagamis quickly went bankrupt in 2002. A young Tetsuya was then forced to hop from minimum wage job to minimum wage job in order to merely get by, whereas he could have had a comfortable life and pursued his ambitions if the wealth of his family had not been donated away by his mother. As a result, Tetsuya developed a strong hatred for the Unification Church, which was then directed towards Shinzo Abe. Even though Abe himself was not a member, Abe's family, beginning with his grandfather, Nobusuke Kishi, had formed a political partnership with the Unification Church based on anti-communist and anti-Chinese sentiments. This working relationship has lasted throughout the decades, as Abe and his political party continue to use the Unification Church to mobilize volunteers and voters in a prominent supporting and voting bloc. This political union between Shinzo Abe and the sect is what resulted in him being targeted by Tetsuya for his revenge against the Unification Church, for their part in draining his family fortune. When his motives and intentions were revealed to the public by the Japanese police, surprisingly, Tetsuya actually gained a wave of sympathy from the Japanese public. There have been suggestions on social media that care packages should be sent to Tetsuya's detention center to cheer him up. More than 7,000 people have signed a petition requesting leniency for Yamagami, who told police that he killed Abe, one of Japan's most powerful and divisive politicians, because of his ties to the Unification Church. Kimiyaki Nishida, a Rizo University psychology professor and expert in cult studies, said that if he hadn't committed to crime, Mr. Yamagami would deserve much more sympathy. There are many others who also suffer because of their parents' faith.